Hey, shalom, shalom, Yasharal. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, good day. Welcome back to another episode of Dabarym, the Scripture Research Institute. And today we are gathered here to learn about the ninth character of the Hebrew alphabet, which is the letter T. Teat, teat from the alphabet. You see that rhyme? And that's the best part about learning the alphabet or the Hebrew alphabet. It's definitely some rhyming words. When you start to learn the lexicon of the words, you can see how they fit together very well. So we're gonna use our Dabarym pound for pound transliteration technique to take these words from the alphabet, translate them into the English so that we can be able to read them clearly. And it's a very simple process. It shouldn't take too long. Just need you guys to stick with me, pay attention, and we're gonna dive into these building blocks of the scriptures, right? The building blocks that make up the scriptures as we know it, and it's very important. So I'm your host. Daliyahu Yasharal, and I've been studying the scripture, living the lifestyle, guided by scripture principles for since 2011, over 10 years. And that whole time I've been walking this Torah out, walking the commandments out, walking out this lifestyle. I've been learning and understanding and breaking down the Hebrew the whole time. And it's hard to be in this lifestyle in this walk without breaking down the Hebrew, without understanding the Hebrew, right? Because we need that so that it's crucial to our understanding so that we don't bring the Most High name to nothing. A lot of time people just wake up, feel like we can wake up, they know who they is, we're keeping the commandments, we're not eating pork, we're keeping the Shabbat, but we still think it's okay to just call you these erroneous names that's in the scripture. But it's a thing as well. So it's like we know the scripture tells us it's no weight to sin. It's one sin is just as bad as the other one. Like if you break the Shabbat, that's like murder. You know what I'm saying? It's like if you sin, you sin. So upholding who his name is important. But you can't really say his name with conviction if you don't look at the language and the letters, right? It's impossible for you to have a Hebrew name. People have Hebrew names, but how can you have a Hebrew name if you don't understand the letters and the characters or what the meaning of the name is? So obviously, if I got a Hebrew name, that means I had to look into the language. So it's very important, very crucial part of our understanding, right? To avoid sin, bringing the Father name to nothing, understanding our names, our brothers' names, everything like that. So in this lesson about the teeth, we're gonna talk about what does it mean, and we'll show you guys how to find these answers, how to find out exactly what it means, etc., through research and the scripture. So let's get into it, family. Thank you guys for joining us again. I'm Daliyahu. This is Dabarym. So we gathered here today to speak about the teeth, and you can see it right here. Reference. You see the spelling, the pictographic spelling to the top. You see the teeth. You see the yard. You see the teeth, and transliterated to the English, pound for pound, is TYT. Period. So this is how you spell the word in English. Now at this point, it's just all about understanding the phonetics of the word and the sounds of each word, but it's transliterated very easily, very plainly. And it's one of the more simple words in scripture, and that's good, right? So it shouldn't take us too long. So basically, the T is spelled T-Y-T or T-Y-T, as I just explained, and it gives us the sound of T as in tiger, right? Just like in the English language, it's a letter T, right? Basically, the ancient form is pictured here. The pictographic is listed here as well. Again, important to give you guys the visual aids because we come from a society and a culture where we had pictographic words, and it's a very concrete mind frame. Like everything has a meaning, a function, and it gives us an idea, a connotation, or something, right? So it's said that the teeth is a picture of a basket, right? It may look like an X-Man logo to some people. It depends if it's which version of the logo it is, but it seems like an X that with a circle, right? Tic-tac-toe, maybe. So the numerical value of the teeth is 9, and that's important because Hebrew words do have a numerical value as well. But what we find is when we look at this T, right, which is the Strong's number H 2916, when we look in the scriptures for the definition for this word, we see it being used or being translated in English as sticky, mud, or muddy, clay, dirt, or sometimes in some instances calamity, right? With that same connotation, like how can it mean dirt and calamity? Like just think about quicksand, right? Dirt can be cause you calamity, right? Clay, mud. Uh, again, it's sometimes a range of thought that one Hebrew word has. When we bring it to the English, it's not one English word that can correctly, fully define that Hebrew term. So let's continue on. So sweet tea, and I like to put that in there just as a little teaser title, but also it just goes to show the phonetics of how it's pronounced, right? In the Abadi. Because if you look at it in English, it's like, what does that say if you was reading like English grammar, like using these Latin characters to spell an English word? It might say tight or something like that. I don't know what it would say in English, but in Abadi, we know when we see the Y or the yod, right, in the middle of a word, it give an E sound. So it's just like sweet tea. Phonetically, it rhymes, but it helps us really realize this is a Hebrew word. This is the phonetics of it. This is how it's spelled. This is what it is, right? So T is one of the two Abadi characters that are represented by the English letter T. We got the T and we got the two, right? Both of them basically translate to T characters. The two has some rules though. In different places of a word has th sound. So, but the T is always a T. No different rules, no morphing, no changing, no functioning. It's always a letter T. The T, however, is transliterated as a T in every circumstance, right? Unlike the two. And it has no rules and is simply pronounced and transliterated the same every time, which is great. It's a very simple character. And again, we have the Abadi characters listed, the evolution, the changes of the character. We see it go from being a pictographic paleo to the Moabite font, Isaiah scroll font, up to the modern day, quote unquote, biblical font, modern Hebrew font. And again, all these things we put as a reference, visual aid, because it's important to know. We need to be able we can't read it if you can't visually recognize the character, right? So that's why we have to put the visuals, but it's important to understand the word has evolved, but we should be able to say it, transliterate it in any state. And that's what we want to help to do and accomplish. So that's the whole point. So now we're going to take the opportunity, the liberty to go into scripture, do some light researching and parallels and see how these definitions of terms come up and really look at them with some context around, put the words around it so we can get a better idea or the best idea possible of the definition, right? So again, make it clear, we're talking about the Strong's number H2916, right? And the outline of biblical usages here is used as mud, clay, mire, dirt, damp, clay in poetic form. And again, this word is said to be derived from the Strong's number H2894, right? Through the idea of dirt to be swept away. And that's what we'll see as well. A lot of time this word T is used in conjunction with other words to give us a stronger parallel, and it really clarifies the meaning. So what am I talking about? Let's jump into the scripture, family. So our first scripture is Tahalim, commonly called Psalms, right, by the nations. And we go into chapter 18, verse 42, and I'm going to read it. It reads, Then did I beat them small as the dust before the wind, and I did cast them out as dirt in the streets, right? So that's important. So the word heat right here is translated as dirt, right? H2916. But you see it being used in parallel with dust and dirt, right? So that gives us the idea of the definition of heat. It's similar to dirt. They're similar to dust, like small dust that blow in the wind, but it's talking about dirt, like on the ground. But you have to love this about the Hebrew language, how it gives us analogies and parallels and similitudes, right? And these things help us reach a very safe and complete outlook and definition, right, of the word. Without us having to interject, scripture is defining itself in context. And that's the point. That's what we want to do here at Dabarym. Not give you guys an example or a definition that's not from scripture. So continuing on, we're going to the book of Yashayahu, right? The prophet, commonly called Isaiah, chapter 41, verse 25. And it reads, I stirred up one from the north, and he has come from the rising of the sun, and he will call upon my name. Okay, listen. And he will trample on rulers as on mortar, as the potter treads clay. In this word that's translated in English as clay, you guessed it. That is the Hebrew word teat, right? The Strong's number H2916. And that is the name also for the letter in the alphabet that we transliterate as T, right? So basically, we know our English letter T as T, but in the Hebrew, the letter T, what they know, what they would have knew as the letter T is called teat, and it means clay, dirt, etc. And we get this from Scripture, right? So let's continue. See our next example in Scripture. Going to the book of Yirmiyahu, commonly called Jeremiah by the nations, chapter 38, verse 6, and it reads, it reads, so they took Yirmiyahu, right, commonly called Jeremiah. They took Yirmiyahu and cast him into the cistern of Malachiah, the king's son, which was in the court of the guard, letting Yirmiyahu down by ropes. And there was no water in the cistern, but only teat, right? And Yirmiyahu sank in the teat. That's basically what happened. Obviously, it's translated as mud in English, but that was teat. That's what teat is, mud. But in the Hebrew or the Abadith, to be more correct, precise, more technical a little bit, it is teat, family. So I hope that's making sense. We got a couple more examples to get to. 1 second. So we got a couple more examples to get to. Let's look at it. Not too many more. It's only we almost finished. All right, so let's look at the next example. Next example in the book of Micah, right? Micah. It's called Micah in English, but you see it's spelled a little bit different, right? But we can see why it's important to learn how to transliterate our words ourselves, because they like to throw the I in there as a replacement for the Y. Because the Y ain't at the beginning, and it look funny, but it's important to know when the Y is at the beginning of a word, if it's in the middle of a word, it has an EE sound, right? Just like Dabarym or any type of word that you see a Y at the end, it have an EE sound. So it's important to understand that, because we can see how when you give an excuse to change out words and use different rules and stuff, the language starts to look more and more foreign, right? It looks more and more foreign. So anyway, Micah chapter 7, verse 10, it reads, then my enemy will see, and shame will cover her who said to me, where is Yahuwah, your Elohim? My eyes will look upon her. What is this her? That's again, this is the translation from the English ESV translation. But it says, my eyes will look upon her. Now she will be trampled down like what? Mud or mire in the streets. It says mire in the ESV, which is the English Standard Version. But we know mire is mud, right? She will be trampled down like teat in the street. And we see how this rhymes. Teat in the street. Teat is the Hebrew word saying the name for the letter T in the alphabet, but it means mud, mire, dirt, clay, etc. And this is why we go to scripture, because we see it's not always translated the same. Sometimes it's mud, sometimes it's clay, sometimes it's dirt. And that's why we go to scripture, because it gives us the full context. Like, is it dirt or is it mud? It's two different English words, right? But what is dirt? Dirt, when it rains, it's dirt. When it's dry, it's dirt. But as soon as you will bring the rain, Now the water hit it, it's mud. So you can see how it's the same Hebrew word, right? But it has different context depending on what's happening. And you can see how it can have different English translations. I'm not finding my video camera like that. Anyway, I don't know what's going on with the video. We're gonna get that right, family. But thank you guys for sticking around. If you made it this far, please like the video. Liking the video help it reach a wider audience. Share this with a friend, family member, somebody in your assembly or church, and continue to spread the message so that we can all get on the same page. Once we understand this language, we can all be on the same page. This language has not changed in 7,000, 6,000 years. It hasn't changed. We just have been asleep as a people, and we let other people control our text and our documents, right? You see how we transliterating these words without vowel points, right? So none of this is going to change. You see Dabarym, it has a Y at the end, but we say Dabarym. It's no need to phonetically put the two E's there. You don't have to do that. And people did that to anglicize the word. People who wasn't of the culture, say we make a rule, we got to put two dots at the top so we know that we need to say it is. It don't. Abraham didn't do that. Solomon didn't do that. David didn't do that. Yahushua didn't do that. So we're not going to do that. You see what I'm saying? Dabarym is right there. The yod is an E at the end, but at the beginning of Yahuwah or Yerushalayim or Yahusha, it's a Y. And that is the rule for that character all the time. And that's what we teaching and preaching on Dabarym. And that is, ladies and gentlemen, the pound for pound transliteration. No vowel points needed. You see? This is the building blocks of scripture, this understanding. And you don't have to go to school for it, seminary school, theologian. You don't need to be none of that to be a scholar, to be accepted by Yahuwah, right? So this is a very important fundamental teaching, right? I'm not going to get into breaking down the name of Yahuwah until I explain to you the Aleph, right? These are the building blocks of scripture. These are very pivotal pieces to our culture, family. So Daliyahu Yashara, I hope that makes sense. If you got something else, a meaning that I missed, another scripture you want to include, be sure to leave a comment. Let me know how the lesson turned out. How's the audio? I know I have bad audio on another lesson. I had to re-upload it. But make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the rest of the Aleph Beat breakdowns. And then ultimately, when we get to breaking down every single word in scripture, this Dabarym, Hebrew Research, Scripture Research Institute. Shalom. See you guys in the next video.